Greetings, Your Eminence. Can you hear us? Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We're here in New York City at Fordham University. We have about 150 people here. We'll probably have more as you keep talking. And let me give you a short introduction, and then we can hear from you, and we might have one or two questions for you afterwards. We do have an honored guest. We're honored to have His Eminence Fabio Cardinal Baggio with us today. He's the Undersecretary for the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. He also, in his earlier days, was a Scalabrini missionary, spending time in Argentina and in the Philippines. And in December of 2024, he was elevated to the College of Cardinals by Pope Francis. And he was a close advisor to Pope Francis on migration and other issues, and now is a close advisor to Pope Leo. So, Your Eminence, we welcome, we look forward to your message, and we hope it's not too hot in Rome these days. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's not too hot. It's a very good climate, and we are just enjoying good days during this time and back to work after a very hot summer. I'm pleased to be participating to this panel today, and I would like to thank all the organizers for inviting me and inviting the Dicastery for promoting integral human development to this important conference. The theme that I try to tackle in my presentation is Pope Francis and Pope Leo pastoral concern about migrants integration. Before I begin my presentation, I believe there is a need for terminological clarification. As regards this contribution, I understand my integration as opposed to assimilation. The latter refers to the process by which a given culture influences the contents of another culture, causing a change in the latter, while the tendency to substitute the original contents with those of the new culture. In the integration process, instead, the contents of original culture are preserved and integrated with selected contents of the new culture. Since the beginning of her history, the Catholic Church has faced the challenge of integration among its members, who came from different cultural backgrounds. It was first the case of integration between the baptized with a Jewish background and those converted from the pagan context. Then the spread of the Catholic Church throughout the world, on the wings of a missionary enthusiasm, has led men and women from every continent to become part of a very diversified communities, demanding complex processes of integration. Today's migration flows, which affect many Catholics from the most diverse regions of the world, request local churches to face old and new challenges of inclusion. In this brief contribution, I would like to discuss the magisterial teachings of Pope Francis and Pope Leo XIV, expressing their common concern about migrants' integration, with a special focus on Catholic migrants. In 2017, Pope Francis summarized the Church's pastoral care for migrants and refugees in 4 verbs: welcome, protect, promote, and integrate. They stand for the 4 pillars of a coordinated and effective action in response to the challenges of the present-day human mobility, an action that the Church must develop in collaboration with all political and social stakeholders in order to bring about a forward-looking governance of migration flows that will benefit everyone. The 4 verbs should be understood as elements of one unique process, whose goal is the integration of newcomers and locals. According to Pope Bergoglio, integration is a reciprocal process involving both migrants and local communities in an enriching cultural exchange. Integration entails the reciprocal explicit commitment of both parties. Pope Francis recommends that I cite, foster a culture of encounter in every way possible by increasing opportunities for intercultural exchange, documenting and disseminating best practices of integration, and developing programs to prepare local communities for integration processes. In his message for the 2023 World Day of Migrants and Refugees, Pope Francis emphasized how important it is, and I quote, recognizing and valuing how much each of them, migrants and refugees, can contribute to the process of construction. I like to see this approach to migration reflected in a prophetic vision of Isaiah, which considers foreigners not invaders or destroyers, but willing laborers who rebuild the walls of a new Jerusalem, that Jerusalem whose gates are open to all peoples. In the same document, Pope Bergoglio recalled how, historically speaking, the social and economic growth of many societies has benefited from the work, youth, enthusiasm, and willingness to sacrifice of migrants and refugees. It is a trend which continues to be true nowadays. I quote, yet this contribution could be all the greater where it optimized and supported by carefully developed programs and initiatives. Enormous potential exists ready to be harnessed if only it is given a chance. With reference to Catholic migrants, Pope Francis intended their integration as a concrete expression of a Catholicity of a church, meaning her universality, which, I quote, must be embraced and expressed in every age. The diversity of faithful coming from different cultural backgrounds provides local churches with an opportunity for growth and enrichment. There are many countries with a deep Catholic tradition that in recent decades have become a destination for large migration flows. The rapid aging of their populations often corresponds to a certain decline in Catholic communities, which are gradually becoming smaller and older, and are beginning to manifest the symptoms of what Pope Francis called immobility. The arrival of Catholic migrants signifies a privileged opportunity to revitalize and enrich the communities welcoming them. The enthusiasm of their participation, the liveliness of their celebrations, the freshness of their spiritual vitality are the new lifeblood that so many local churches need today. For this reason, their integration into parishes must be promoted and encouraged through careful pastoral planning. Above all, and I quote, all the baptized, wherever they find themselves, are by right members of both their local ecclesial community and the one church, dwellers in one home and part of one family. Francis 2021. In his address to Italian bishops on 17 June 2025, Pope Leo XIV highlighted the need to ensure a conducive environment to overcome fear for the others and generate enriching encounters. I quote, I hope that every diocese may promote pathway of education in non-violence, mediation initiatives in local conflicts, and welcoming projects that transform fear of the other into an opportunity for encounter. May every community become a house of peace, where one learns how to diffuse hostility through dialogue, where justice is practiced and forgiveness is cherished. In order to even be able to talk about integration, it is necessary to first create the necessary conditions for a warm welcome of the other migrant. Fraternal openness to those fleeing situations of conflicts and injustice represents a bulwark of humanity. This is why only a few days ago, the Holy Father, in continuity with his predecessor, addressed words of thanks to the inhabitants of Lampedusa for their testimony of welcome, opposing the globalization of indifference. I quote, "My thank you, which is the thank you of the whole Catholic Church for your witness, prolongs and renews that of Pope Francis. Thank you to the association, volunteers, mayors, and administrations that have followed one another over time. Thank you to the priests, doctors, security forces, and all those, often invisibly, have shown and show the smile and attention of a human face to people who survived in their desperate journey of hope." Last June, still connected with his predecessor, Pope Leo XIV condemned the widespread exclusion and marginalization in modern cities. I quote, "Our cities must not be freed of a marginalized, but of marginalization. They must be cleared not of a desperate, but of desperation. How beautiful are those cities which overcome paralyzing mistrust, integrate those who are different, and make this very integration a new factor of development." A sound process of inclusion would lead the newcomers to become active members of a society that received them and boost intercultural dynamics that are mutually enriching. Referring to his personal history, the Holy Father recalls how many people who are called citizens today are descendants of migrants, and how the migration condition in no way affects the dignity of a human person. My own story is that of a citizen, the descendant of immigrants, whose in turn choose to emigrate. All of us, in the course of our life, can find ourselves healthy or sick, employed or unemployed, living in our native land or in a foreign country. Yet our dignity always remains unchanged. It is the dignity of a creature willed and loved by God. Regarding Catholic migrants, in the catechesis delivered on 14 June 2025, Pope Leo XIV acknowledged their important role in the evangelizing mission of the Church. I quote, "The gospel was brought to this continent from outside, and even today, migrants' community are a presence that revives the faith in the countries that welcome them." The effective integration of Catholic migrants in the receiving communities would enact a process of mutual enrichment in terms of faith and religious practice. I quote, "With their spiritual enthusiasm and vitality, they can help revitalize ecclesial community that have become rigid and weighed down, where spiritual desertification is advancing at an alarming rate. For this reason, it is important to ensure that their presence is recognized and appreciated by local communities. They are brothers and sisters who ask to be part of the same family and to contribute to the growth and well-being of all, making available their talents and participating fully in community life. I would like to conclude this presentation by citing the final invocation of the Holy Fathers in his message for the World Day of Migrants and Refugees 2025. On this Jubilee, when the Church prays for all migrants and refugees, I wish to entrust all those who are on the journey, as well as those who are working to accompany them, to the maternal protection of the Virgin Mary, comfort of migrants, so that she may keep hope alive in their hearts and sustain them in their commitment to building a world that increasingly resembles the kingdom of God, the true homeland that awaits us at the end of our journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence, for your inspiring words. We were very happy to see the Holy Father's message for World Day of Migrants and Refugees, but also his recent message to Lampedusa. It gives us a lot of things to quote and to work on, and a lot to remind us of the importance of the human dignity of migrants. I know you're on a limited time schedule, so we thought we would just have 2 questions, if you don't mind. So I want to first call on Don Kerwin from Jesuit Refugee Service USA to ask you a question. Don.
Hi, Your Eminence. It's nice to see you. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about Catholic teaching on advancing the right to stay, which I've heard you do many times, and both in people's home states, but also kind of wherever they find themselves in their destination states, and how important that is at a conference like this, which is devoted to immigrant integration. Thank you.
Thank you. I do believe that we have a double duty within the church, talking about the pastoral care of migrants, while we are assisting them and helping them in all the phases of migration, from departure up to complete integration and even return. We cannot but thinking about the reason why they had to migrate, and thinking about the commitment that we should have about eliminating, erasing all the evil cause of migration, meaning those who are causing forced migration, just forcing people, compelling people to leave their country. And here we can think about many different phenomena, but just a part of the societies where the migrants originated from. Meaning, think about conflicts, wars, of course, disasters, but even a really unjust economy, which is leaving many people just in a very miserable situation and with no alternative. Here we have a call as Catholic Church to build alternatives to migration. We have the right to stay, which is I would say, a previous right than the one to migrate. Should be capped, should be enhanced, should be real in all of the time. The right to remain, it means that I can find an alternative, a condition to develop myself and my family in the way that the God is calling me to be developed as part of the original project. Regarding the second question, which is also very important, and thinking about the different stages of migration and where many other actors would enter into the picture in order to accompany the journey of migrants, we think about responsibility which can be shared. And recalling each one responsibility, of course, many of them, these responsibility are, of course, highlighted and recalled by international legislation, international convention, which has been part of a multilateral system. And they are still telling us how important it is to look for a global governance. And I would like to recall the spirit of a global compact for a safe, orderly, and regular migration, which is stating some of the most important principles of a global governance of migration, because it is not just question of one or the other. It's not just question of one state or the other state. When we are talking about international migration, there are many actors who should be called into a discussion and find the right way to preserve, keep all the dignity and human rights of all those involved.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Our second question is from Father Brian Strasburger. He's the director of Del Camino Jesuit Border Ministries in Brownsville, Texas.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Thank you for your presentation. Great to have you speak with us today. I think the the world lost perhaps the greatest advocate for migrants when Pope Francis died in April. You've quoted him frequently, and he's been a constant presence in our minds and hearts these days as we're talking. So I'm just wondering, you know, here in the US context, there's a lot of frustration that the church hierarchy or priests in their parishes aren't really taking up that baton of Pope Francis, and they haven't for the legacy of his papacy and beyond to really carry that message to the church at large. From your international perspective, you know, what are the signs of hope you see of the church carrying on that legacy of Pope Francis, who was so close to migrants? I mean, you started with, you've referenced Pope Leo a couple times, but what are the signs of hope you have for we as a church at large carrying on that legacy of Pope Francis? Thank you.
I have been able to visit many countries during the past years as a responsible of migrants and refugees section within the Dicastery, and in the past 3 or 4 years in a specific mission under the guidance and the directorship of Pope Francis and Pope Leo. In all this mission, I was able to detect a real commitment of the local churches regarding migrants and refugees. And I can tell you that even churches, national churches, bishop conferences, who has not been very active in the past, I'm talking about maybe the beginning of the 3rd millennium, now they are becoming very active in the field of the pastoral care of migrants, of refugees and displaced people, and even victims of human trafficking. And this is just because we had a good advocate, a global advocate in Pope Francis. And I'm sure, completely sure, we are going to celebrate very soon also the Jubilee of migrants and refugees on the 5th of October. It will be a wonderful occasion, even for Pope Leo, to come up with all the statements which are needed, with all the insights which are needed today to keep on working with the same spirit within the church. We are just at the beginning. We know that not everyone has been so active in this field, and this is just question because there are many, many other issues where are thought and are as relevant or more relevant today. And we live, of course, and we respect all the local churches in their path. The same way as a dicastery, as also representative of the Holy Father, we are going to keep on insisting on the importance of the pastoral care. And recalling Pope Francis in this sense, we cannot but say that they are just a group, a category of the dwellers of the existential peripheries that we have to put at the center of the action of the church.
Great, thank you, Your Eminence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence, for being here today. If you have any final words of encouragement for us, we've been grappling a bit with some of the harsh enforcement policies we're facing here in the U.S., and your appearance is very encouraging for us, so thank you. But did you have any final words that you wanted to say?
I'm just saying that I'm going to have a meeting with the bishop coming from your continent just in a few minutes, and we are going to talk again about the pastoral care of migrants, refugees, and displaced people. There are signs of hope, which is very present today, and everybody who is willing, who is already engaged in the pastoral care of migrants and the migrant ministry should never be feeling alone. We are many, many working in this issue. And we are sure that at the end of the day, the divine providence, the Holy Spirit would just enlighten the minds of many, many other people to jump on, to come with us and to work with us in this wonderful ministry.
Thank you very much for being with us, Your Eminence.
Thank you.